Good afternoon. My name is Mileyka Burgos-Flores, and I am the Executive Director of the Allapattah Collaborative CDC, a nonprofit organization focused on implementing placemaking techniques to foster identity, support wealth building strategies for marginalized communities of color, and advocate for policies and procedures that support equitable, comprehensive, and sustainable community development. Our goal is to protect and strengthen the identity, charm, and cultural appeal of our Allapattah neighborhood, as well as other ethnic communities in Miami, by ensuring that long-term residents are able to thrive in an environment plagued with disparities, misinformation, and disinvestment. In recent years, we have worked with the community to develop a strategic plan to mitigate the rapid displacement and improve the quality of life of long-term residents. Our strategies focus on collaboration, education, and coaching to empower individuals, micro businesses, and the community. Monday Night Talks, the intersection of small business and health, is a five-part series where we invite you to join us every Monday in the month of November for a one-hour conversation about the impacts of COVID-19 on small business owners and their customers. In these sessions, we'll discuss topics that bridge the intersection of business and social determinants of health. We'll explore how the effects of COVID-19 have magnified socioeconomic issues that ultimately hurt businesses on several fronts. Monday Night Talks aims to create an informed conversation about a weekly topic and provide a collective way forward as we continue learning how to mitigate challenges in our post-COVID-19 society. We hope these conversations improve engagement, knowledge, and strengthen relationship among stakeholders. It is an honor for me to host this virtual event today. I am delighted to introduce to you my esteemed colleague and co-host, Sheyla Pierre, Principal at SocialBridge Consulting. Sheyla?
Thank you, Mileyka. Greetings, everyone. My name is Sheyla Pierre, and as mentioned, I'm the Principal Consultant at SocialBridge. My background in social work and business motivated me to start this work in bridging the gap between profit and purpose. I work with clients to build sound corporate social responsibility strategies. Our work aims to solve social problems through innovative solutions, strategy, and thought partnership. During our conversation, we will discuss how access to healthcare ultimately impacts you as a business owner. To join our conversation, we are excited to have Fernanda Kuchkarian, Director of Programs for the Health Foundation of South Florida, as well as Brianne Miller, community educator at the Miami-Dade AHEC. Thank you both for joining today's conversation. Mileyka?
The COVID-19 pandemic has stormed in and it continues to affect our everyday lives. 9 months into this crisis, many businesses have been forced to close. Some are hanging on by a thread, while others are doing what they can to survive this reality. Today, we will dive into the intersection of health access and COVID. How are we going to stay safe, sheltered, and resilient during this pandemic? Tonight, our objective is to understand the impact and disparities of healthcare access during COVID-19, as well as gain insights about the intersectionality between health access and the social determinants of health. We'll dive deep into the benefits of including healthcare access for employees and how to pay for it. Lastly, we'll share some best practices and resources available during this pandemic in Miami-Dade County. Let's get started, Sheyla.
I'm excited about this. Can we start the first slide? So Monday Night Talks. So Mileyka, talked about why we're here. So this is a conversation where we can talk to you all as small business owners about issues that may be happening in the community. We've talked about affordable housing. We've talked about employment, risk management, and insurance. And tonight we get to talk about access to healthcare. And we're going to explain to you why is that important for you to know as a business owner. So let's get started. Next slide. So we typically like to talk about the intersection of business and health, right? So as a business owner, when you hear access to healthcare, you may be thinking about, why is this even important to me as a business owner? And that we'd love to tell you about that. So the health of a business is linked directly to your workforce as well as the community where your business resides. We understand that community engagement in addressing the social determinants of health in the community benefits businesses and individuals. So you may be wondering, as a business, how does it benefit you when you think about, access to healthcare or addressing, community needs? So the first thing we want to talk about is the business benefit. When you think about your employees, we think about having less sick days when you have employees who are a lot healthier. We think about having improved productivity, less money spent on health insurance, more cooperation to transform your company culture. Some of the conversation that we're going to talk about today is really the importance of, as a business owner, providing insurance, right? That being, being able to have buy-in, being able for your employees to see that as an employer, you truly care about one of their most important needs, which is healthcare. This also helps to look at fewer workplace incidents. And so when we think about the community benefit of this whole, intersection of business and health, community involvement increases brand awareness. We also think about stronger community relationships. As a business owner, you're a stakeholder too. And so when, people are able to see that your business owner, you may be that local coffee shop, a barber shop, when they see that you're, attending community events or that you're concerned about what's happening where your business reside, it helps to really build relationship and brand awareness. And there's a lot of value there. This sets you apart from competitors. Not all small business owners are involved in community related issues. Some may not see the value, but we're happy that you all do see the value. And so we want to really paint the picture on why these conversations, access to healthcare, is so important. And lastly, this helps you network and create a connection with other local businesses, right? Because you may not be the only small business owner doing this in your community. And so being able to have community engagement really creates an opportunity to create with other small business owners as well. Next slide. Okay, so the intersection of health access and COVID-19, staying safe, sheltered, and resilient during COVID-19. When I think of resilient, during COVID-19, it's been a lot for everyone. So when we think about the healthcare industry, COVID-19 really was a shock to this industry, right? This, with unemployment rates, we're seeing some of the highest rates since the Great Depression. That creates a huge issue when you think about access to healthcare. Why? Many employees or many individuals, this is how they get access to healthcare, is through their job. So when we look at the numbers of people who lost their job, we also see that that's also a lot of people who no longer have access to health insurance. Now, when you think about access to health insurance, you may be thinking about, what does that mean? There may be different definitions or things that come to mind when you think about that. So let me tell you how the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine define access to healthcare. They define it as timely use of personal health services to achieve the best possible health outcomes. Inadequate health insurance coverage is one of the largest barriers to access to healthcare. Lack of health insurance coverage may have a negative effect on health, right? I'm sure if we're all in a room and we're talking about this, what's happening, what you've been seeing with other businesses, you'd be able to agree that, lack of not having a job, it makes it really difficult to have health insurance, and we see that. So another thing that I want to talk to you about, next slide, please. Is the social determinants of health. So that may be a term that you are familiar with, but if you're not, I'd love to tell you about it. So the social determinants of health are conditions where people live, where they're born, where they play, where they work. So those are the social determinants of health, right? And so these are factors that can affect your health outcome. And so you may be thinking to yourself, as a business owner, The social determinants of health, why should I care about that? What is that all about? And so that does impact you as a business owner, right? Because you may, some of the factors are related to transportation, they're related to employment, and of course, access to healthcare. These are all examples of the social determinants of health. And as a small business owner, it's important to understand that these factors can impact your future customers, right? And what we also see is that a person's zip code is a strong predictor of their potential health outcome. What we mean by that is based on zip codes, someone's either life expectancy or their access to healthcare significantly changes. So as business owners, we want you all to be very familiar with the social determinants of health. And we're going to spend some time talking a little bit more about that when we introduce our panelists to speak on this topic about the social determinants of health. And so access to healthcare services is a key issue in the health and healthcare domain. Next slide. So you're getting all this information and you're thinking, okay, as a business owner, where do I go to get health insurance? Is this really important for me? And so I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the benefits of including healthcare access for employees and how to pay for it. So as a small business owner, you have two healthcare options. One is healthcare.gov. Most people refer to it as the marketplace. And then two, you have a sole proprietor or where you can purchase individual health insurance plans. So you may be wondering whether you should offer health insurance to your employees, or deciding as a small business owner if it's something that, financially that you can do, and, what are the potential benefits. So some reasons that as a small business owner, you want to offer health insurance is that, as mentioned before, it boosts productivity, right? When you just think about, having sick employees or having employees who are maybe using a lot of sick days or they're out on FMLA, this can definitely have an impact on your business. This increases attractiveness to talent, right? That's a huge question, right? When you think about applying for a job or recruiting someone to work for your business, that's a question they're going to ask. What about the benefits? So you want to be ready for that. For employee job satisfaction, as mentioned before, when you see that during a global pandemic like COVID-19, being able to have insurance through your employer is something that's really important. Being able to show your employees that you're invested in their healthcare as well. This helps to have healthier, more productive employees, and it really helps to create a company culture. There's resources. You have the Small Business Administration, so that's SBA.gov, where you can find additional resources and information around having health insurance for your small business. So those are information that you can look up, but I'm excited that we can talk to our panelists about some of this information about health insurance and what you can do. So I'd love to talk to you first, Brianne, about why is access to healthcare an important issue for small businesses? Some of our audience members may be thinking about that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. And as far as healthcare, it's incredibly important. One of the first things I learned through my master's program is healthcare does not exist in a vacuum, and it's so true. So, for example, everything intersects. We learned about the social determinants of health and where you live, how close your grocery store is, if you have a car, all that stuff plays into how you can live your best life and have the best quality of life. So as it pertains to healthcare, we have to be mindful of our employees. Offering healthcare to your employees is so important. Like what you said, it's all about fostering a company culture that's about putting health first, making it a priority. If I'm healthy, I'm able to do my job. I'm able to function. I am mentally well, physically well, emotionally well. And if you have the ability to give that access to someone, they will not only feel like their employer cares about them, they feel like it's a worthy investment to stay, to develop as a person.
So good. That's really good.
Awesome. What is the
Go ahead, Mileyka.
Yeah, Sheila, I wanted to ask, what is the work that your organization is doing, Brianna, to address the access to healthcare in Miami-Dade County?
Sure. So I work for Miami-Dade Area Health Education Center. That's what the AHEC stands for. So fun fact is that all the AHECs basically was established by Congress in 1971 under President Carter. And so we're a branch in Miami-Dade, and all our programs are completely free. I run the diabetes and also the dementia program. So we have been contracted with the Florida Department of Health. And for our diabetes program, it's a 6-week session, and it's all about self-management. And it's not really like I'm just going to lecture you for an hour. It's kind of like this. It's a conversation. It's a safe space for people to learn about meal planning, reading food labels, how to exercise. It's virtual right now because with social distancing. However, we've been having different cohorts start and finish, and they really enjoy it. We also mail out stretch bands, My Plate, portion control, like all this bunch of stuff. So by the time they start, they are ready to go. And then also with our dementia program that I help with my coworker Ada, we do the caregiver empowerment program. And so again, this is free, and it's also a safe space for people to not only learn how to be a better caregiver, but to really understand what it takes to be an awesome caregiver, and to learn to have self-care and to not feel guilty for taking a break. So for some people, their aunt, their uncle, their dad may have a form of dementia, and they learn about the different forms of nursing homes, assisted living, and they also get to share their experiences with other people. So these are the type of services that we offer. So even if you have health insurance, like this information is free. So that way, if you don't necessarily need it right now, you can pass it along to someone else. So we also have tobacco cessation, colorectal cancer. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but basically that's what we do in a nutshell.
Wonderful. And I love how you guys are really meeting clients, patients where they are, right? But you saying that you're just meeting with people, having a conversation, kind of like what we're doing now. And this is so important, right? So really love the work that you're doing at AHEC. And we also want our audience members to join in on the conversation. We'd love to, hear about what does access to healthcare mean to you. Sometimes when you hear this term, different things come to mind. We just want to hear, so feel free to drop something in the comment about what does healthcare access mean to you. And then our second question is, do you currently have health insurance for your small business? So we'd love for you to join in on the conversation by adding those two questions. So Fernanda, we'd love to go to you and talk about how does the social determinants of health impact small businesses?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this conversation. It's an honor to be among such powerhouse women here on this Monday Night Talk. I just want to say hello to the audience as well. I'm glad that you can join us today for this very important conversation. As you know, the slides have already covered a lot of the information as to what the social determinants are and why they're so important. And in fact, they really just do have such a tremendous impact on the health and well-being of the community. And they impact everybody from yourself as a business owner to your clients, to your employees, to the community at large. And as we said before, they're the conditions in which we live and work and play that have a much greater impact on our health and well-being than, let's say, our genetic predisposition. So, for example, Brianne mentioned the diabetes programs that she manages. Two people can have the same risk for diabetes, but the person that lives in the community that has access to fresh and healthy foods, sidewalks where they can walk and exercise in, a social support system of family and friends, and access to healthcare, they're going to do a lot better than the person that doesn't have those things. So, why is this important to you as a small business owner? Well, we can talk a lot about these big terms, but I think for me, it just boils down to empathy and really caring about what goes on with your, not only your own health and well-being, but what also might impact the health and well-being of your employees and your customers and the community. I think that these issues are deeply rooted issues. They're deeply rooted social and economic issues. And it's going to take a multi-sector, multi-pronged solution and us coming together to really address them and address why there's so many disparities and inequities in our community.
So much great nuggets there that you shared. I really love that you said empathy, something we all could use right now. But it's so important for business owners, right? And we understand that business owners, they may be thinking about, what about me? It's been tough for me as a business owner, and we recognize that, we understand that. That's a reason why we're here and we've been doing Monday Night Talks, is to speak to you directly and share resources and best practices. We want you to also think about empathy as it relates to your employees, right? So that was really great that you brought that up, and well-being. Something that we talked about in a previous session is thinking about, workplace wellness programs as a way to kind of build a culture of, empathy and just like a positive workplace culture. We know right now it's definitely challenging times with COVID, but we know that there's still ways to connect with your employees and to be able to empower them during challenging times like this. So thank you, Fernanda, for that. And so again, for our audience members, we'd love to hear from you. So if you'd like to share, what does health access look like to you? Access to healthcare look like to you? Sorry about that. And if you currently have health insurance as a small business owner. So Brianne, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but I just want to make sure to see if you have any additional thoughts around the importance of health insurance for small business owners in the era of COVID. Was there anything else that you wanted to add about that particular point?
Yes, I think it's apparent that a lot of people are struggling right now. A lot of people have lost their jobs, have lost loved ones. And as it pertains to health insurance, I think it's really, really complex, and it can't be lost about the fact that so many people, their only access to healthcare is through their job. And that's what we're dealing with in our system currently right now. And so with COVID, it really amplifies what's already going on in our country, in our society. And I think it kind of just holds a mirror to us about what we can improve. So I think it's important for a small business to offer health insurance and to not only think about, COVID right now, the pandemic, but even post, we still want people to take care of themselves. We want people to not deal with the anxiety of, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling well. I don't have enough money to cover this office visit, or I don't have enough money to pay for this diagnostic test, and I think that COVID has taught people so many lessons. And I think as a small business, just taking the time to figure out a plan that works best for your business and your employees, it will just give you the best investment and the return that you can ever dream of, honestly.
So good. Mileyka, you're on mute. Mileyka, can you hear us? There we go. You're on mute.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was talking to myself shortly. So, Brianna, thank you so much for that information. I think that was great, and I think that we have made a point on the importance of providing health insurance to your employees. But I wanted to ask on behalf of all those small business owners that are watching us, is there any program or assistance created to incentivize the small business owner to offer health insurance, or is there any help? I'm a small business owner in Allapattah. I just learned that they are, they're going to raise the minimum wage slowly but surely now. That's like, I see all of this, health insurance, higher wages, great, because that's something that Miami needs. And I think that that's the responsible thing to do. But how do I start that process to make sure that I have the best service and the best options, and that I take advantage of any incentives or anything that I can do? How do I start this process in a way that it's responsible, but also I can keep an eye on my bottom line?
Yes, that's a really great question. So, I know it was covered before in the slides, but there's a couple of things you can do. So you can go to healthcare.gov and you can apply for, and I wrote it down because it's a long name. It's a small business health options program, or SHOP. So just use the abbreviation because it's easy to remember, and you can literally talk to someone at the marketplace, as like what we said, it's familiar, it's pretty much called that. And so they can help you. They can walk you through picking a plan that's affordable for your business, but then also keeping in mind your employees, because you don't want to get a dirt cheap, insurance, and the deductible is like, or, it's like $10,000, and the premium is out of this world, so we want to make sure that we're being mindful, but then also if you do have the capability and you want to purchase, a private option, whether it's Ambetter or Aetna, whatever you want to do, that's an option as well. And that way you can also talk to an agent and they can walk you through the steps. So those are pretty much the two primary ones that I know about. I don't know if anyone else has any other advice to give.
Yeah, no, those are really good. I like what you said about healthcare.gov, because they can help you with the marketplace to really find a plan that'll work for you based on financial constraints, or there's a lot of resources there in terms of finding a plan that works for you. I've also seen with SBA.gov, right? They also have resources within that agency to assist you in terms of finding health insurance, because they do recognize that that's also something very important for small business owners to consider. And so there's resources out there to help you navigate. Very good question, Mileyka.
Fernanda, can you share a little bit more about what the Health Foundation is doing to ensure that people in Miami-Dade County are basically have access to healthcare?
Sure. So Health Foundation of South Florida, first and foremost, we are a local funder. So we are a grant-making organization, and we provide funds to nonprofits in the community in the Tri-County region of Miami-Dade, Broward, and the Keys. And we provide these grants to nonprofits that are helping to drive the work that we believe in, which one of them is access to care and availability of services. So what do we mean by when we say access to care? So there's three really main factors that we look at, with health insurance being one, which is why we're talking so much about health insurance here tonight, because health insurance and coverage is so important, because it's really the entry to the healthcare system. If you think about it, if you don't have health insurance, you're either most likely to end up in the emergency room for care, or you delay seeking care until your condition may be at a much worse state than if you were already receiving preventative services. So that's why health insurance is so important. So we work with other coalitions and nonprofits in the community that do, for example, outreach and enrollment. Another resource that you could possibly look into is the Health Council of South Florida. We work with them. They have certified assisters and navigators to help people enroll in a plan. So even if you as a small business, you're not ready to take that step, or you can't for whatever reason right now, you can guide your employees to contact a health council, and they can get free assistance and unbiased assistance, which is really important, because unfortunately there's just so much misinformation out there, and there's so many different plans, and there's so much terminology that even I get confused. I don't know sometimes the difference between a co-payment or a co-insurance and deductible, and what does this all mean. And I know right now with open enrollment, it's particularly important because plans change. They go through provider contracts and negotiations. So your doctor that you may have been going to may no longer be on your plan. So there's just a lot of things that you need to watch out for. Another thing that the Health Foundation does is, we have a role as a convener to bring people together, and to also participate in conversations like we are tonight, where we're sharing what we're learning and sharing our knowledge. So that's also really an important role that the foundation has in the community.
Wonderful. And I know that you had spoken to us before about other initiatives that the Health Foundation has taken to mitigate social determinants of health. Can you talk a little bit more about that as well?
Absolutely. One of the things that we are really particularly interested in and focusing our efforts on is how do we, we can't count on government for everything. We can't count on just our health clinics or our hospitals for everything. As we said, social determinants have such an important role. So that calls for a broader approach. And how do we look at, these root causes of social and economic inequality in the community? And one of the initiatives that we currently have is called the South Florida Anchor Alliance, where we work with anchor institutions, which are the organizations that have deep roots in the communities, like universities and hospitals and municipalities. How can they use their purchasing power and their leveraging of resources to also include small businesses and minority-owned businesses in the community? It's been estimated that in South Florida alone, these anchors institutions spend about $3.7 billion a year. And, how much of that is really going to our community businesses, and how much can we shift practices to be more inclusive so that, their procurement practices are, using perhaps a small minority or woman-owned business versus, a more larger national organization. So very exciting work.
Awesome.
I'm very excited
Fernanda.
about that, and I have been staying in touch with you guys on that because we have a lot of businesses that need to take advantage of that. And I'll give you an example. We have the University of Miami in the bounds of Allapattah. We have the Health District in the bounds of Allapattah, and we have so many small businesses in the commercial districts and the industrial zones of Allapattah that should be taking advantage of those opportunities. And I'm so glad that you guys have done this. So thank you so much.
I think just to add to that, I think it's also sometimes it's intimidating for a small business to, even, how do I apply to become a vendor with such a large institution? So we're hoping that the dialogue goes both ways and that we really come together as a community, because I think the potential is there.
Yeah, we're very happy to participate with that. And kudos to you for putting this together. So thank you so much. Sheyla?
Yeah, Fernanda, there's so much that you said. I'm going to comment, and then Brianne said some things that I want to comment on too. But I love what you're doing about the anchor institutions. It made me think about like the history, past and present, about community development, right? And so we really saw changes in community development when they involved the small business owners in the communities. So if it worked back then, it could work now. And so we see with a lot of small business owners, well, we want them to know that you guys are the stakeholders. You are stakeholders as well. So they should be involved in the conversation. So I love that the Health Foundation is doing the work of making sure small business owners are at the table as well. So thank you for that. That was so good. Also, too, you said we can't just rely on government. That is so true, right? We know that we need government, but we also have to, as a community, which includes our business owners, that we have to do this work together. And so the Health Foundation knows that, and we know that. And so we're excited to see the work that's being done through the initiative. And so also, Brianne, to a comment that you made about this really amplified things, right? With COVID-19, that's the word that you use. And I thought it was so spot on, right? So now this is not the time where you can kind of shy away from issues that are happening in which where your businesses reside or your business resides. You have to be a part of it, right? You have to prepare, plan, and respond. And so the COVID-19 is teaching us a lesson. And we hope that business owners are really, taking this time, obviously to respond, but to reflect on what's happening so that, if something else happens, we're not saying that it will, we're hoping it doesn't, but that we're able to respond. Okay. So let's talk about some takeaways. Fernanda, what are some things that you want our business owners to walk away with or to remember based on our conversation about access to healthcare?
I just hope that the small business owners that are part of the audience today or get to listen to this after, just remember the power that they have. You have more power than you think you do. I know last week or the week before when Annie Lord from Miami Homes for All was part of the Monday Night Talks, she's talked about this a lot, really encouraging you to come together as a group and use a collective voice to talk to your policymakers, to talk to your legislators, to talk to your commissioners, because small business owners are really the backbone of our economy. And so if you come together and you, advocate for these issues, because a lot of the solutions are policy-based. So if you're able to get your voice out there, then most likely you are able to influence the policies that affect, at the end of the day, your business. So I think the key takeaway here is to not be shy, learn as much as you can about these issues. If they impassioned you in any way to seek further information, I think you can contact any of us and we can, point you to the right direction. I know nationally there's a small business majority organization that's really, right now they have a you can find to advocate on some of these issues, particularly on access to healthcare and health insurance. So, just get involved and know that, your business will thrive if your community thrives.
Okay. I love that you said that your business, if your business can thrive, if your community thrives. That's so good, because those aren't two separate things, right? When we think about the bottom line, which we recognize for small business owners, we know that that's important and we agree. But there's also that triple bottom line where we also think about the people, profit and purpose. And so there's a way, and there's room for both of these two, things to exist in terms of being able to make money, your bottom line, but also to take care of the community where the business resides. So thank you, Fernanda. Those are really great takeaways. Thank you. Brianne, is there anything you'd like for our audience members to leave with, to remember about some of the comments that you made today?
Yes, one of the things I want to say is that small businesses are so important, and not only are they the backbone, but honestly, they can create a sense of family. Where I live, I go to my favorite pita place. I'm vegan personally, so I go to my favorite vegan bakery. They're a small business. And when you go and you see the same people over and over again, you feel like you establish a connection. And that's not something that you can always get when you go to a really big business conglomerate. So just to remind everyone that you all have a purpose, you all have a say, you are important. And I think when you remember that, you realize just how influential you are. So when it comes to access to healthcare, you can take that first step to provide it not only for your employees, but just create a really awesome atmosphere so that way people can feel like they like going to work. The vegan bakery that I go to, I live in Broward, so it's called Pollard Vegan Bakery. And I swear, I feel like everyone loves their job, because when I go there, the atmosphere is nice, it's upbeat, they're friendly. And so once you continue to create that atmosphere, the customers feel like, yes, let me go stop by XX place and pick up whatever, So I think just to remind you all that, you have a say in the matter. And regardless of what's going on, we have to support each other. I'm shopping small for Black Friday. I'm trying to help everything, whether it's online or, in person, because we have to keep each other, together. We have to support each other. So that's basically what I want to say.
That's so good. We really have to support each other. You said that. And then you gave an example, right? So for our small business owners who are watching, you are able to hear from a customer, right? That matters, right? Not just about, technically about the product or service, but the entire experience. So that may be something that as a business owner, you want to reflect on. How do my customers feel when they come to my business? How can I create an atmosphere where they want to come back? Because that's, as a business owner, that's something you should also think about. Do customers want to come back, right? And so those are two really good, those are really great takeaways. And we love the work that both Miami-Dade AHEC and the Health Foundation of South Florida is doing. I love too, Fernanda, that you said the Health Council of South Florida. I've personally worked with them too. So I definitely want to plug Health Council of South Florida as well. When we were working with clients, whether they were Spanish speakers or Haitian Creole, they were able to provide the professionals who are very versed in different insurance plans to go in the home and talk to clients about different plans. And I'm sure that they're doing the work virtually. I've also seen them at different community events. So definitely what we want you to understand too is that there are resources out in the community in Miami-Dade County. We just want to make sure that we're staying connected and we're talking to each other about the resources that exist. So I also want to share some takeaways from our conversation. Here are some things I want you to think about. The pandemic is likely to have a long-term effect on the cost, quality, and access to healthcare in the United States. That's a reality. So you want to think about that. What does that mean for you and your business, your small business? I also want you to think about inadequate health insurance coverage is one of the largest barriers to healthcare access. Another point is that the social determinants of health, and we hope that when you hear that word again, that hey, I know what that means, and that you're very familiar about the social determinants, not just the definition, but why, as a small business owner, it should matter to you. So we understand that the social determinants of health are conditions where we live, where we work, where we play, and they have an effect on our health outcomes. So I want you to remember that. So access to healthcare, this is the last one, access to healthcare services is a key issue in the health and healthcare domain. So those are some takeaways that we want you to consider based on today's conversation. We're not done yet, so feel free to share information about what access to healthcare means to you, and if you're a small business owner, if you currently have insurance. And so the conversation really doesn't stop here. We want to take this conversation to the next step. And what I mean by that is that I want you to join me on Monday, December 7th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. on Zoom, where we're going to discuss a social responsibility plan designed just for you. It's going to be designed thinking about, your clients, your customer, your community. This plan will include a vision, strategy to help you boost, and a plan to boost your competitive edge. So I want you to join. You may be a small business owner, and this kind of conversation may be new to you, right? Talking about social responsibility, social determinants of health, affordable housing, employability. And so maybe as a small business owner, you probably didn't think about that in the past, or just wasn't sure about how you fit in these conversations. And we'd like to let you know that you do. And so to learn more about what social responsibility is, or you may have heard corporate social responsibility, we'd love for you to join us. Again, that's Monday, December 7th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. We have placed the registration link on the chat box for your convenience. Mileyka? You may be on mute. Can you hear us? Mileyka?
Sorry, I had muted myself. My God, I'm back. I'm here. So I just want to highlight that Mr. Mark Nelson is joining us also, and he's asking in the chat, where can he find more information on these organizations? So we will definitely drop down the information on the Allapattah Collaborative, SocialBridge, as well as the Health Foundation and Miami-Dade ACH, okay? Natalie Castellanos is also giving us kudos as healthcare access is so important. Thank you for lifting up the conversation, Allapattah Collaborative. Thank you, Natalie, for your support. We appreciate that very, very much. So I want to invite you, number one, to go back in our Facebook chat and look at the previous Monday night talks. This is our 4th Monday night talk. We've been talking to an amazing slew of guests that has come through, very amazing practitioners that have been talking to us about healthcare, COVID and housing, COVID and workforce, COVID and how to manage this pandemic. Next week, we'll have an amazing closing of this Monday Night Talk. Next week is going to be your last one. I hope that you can join us next week as well. As Sheila was mentioning, we do have the event on December 7th. I hope that you can join us. The link is on the chat box, so you can definitely register for that. Um, Last but not least, I want to thank very, very much our panelists, all of you for joining us today. I hope this conversation allowed us to understand and appreciate more deeply the impact of health implications of access to healthcare and COVID-19 on our small businesses. Small businesses are hurting with this pandemic, but we also need to understand that the people that work with them, their employees are hurting as well, and we all have a social responsibility to help lift each other up. So let's help our small businesses, but also let's encourage our small businesses to do right by their employees. I'd like you to please share your feedback with us by filling out the short survey that is also on the chat box. And we want to thank the Health Foundation and the Miami Foundation and SocialBridge Consulting for making this event possible. And all of you for joining us and being with us for 4 weeks now and asking amazing questions. So thank you so much for your support. I do want to encourage you to keep connecting beyond this event. I want to make sure that this event is an introduction so we can continue the conversation with our colleagues, with our family, with our friends, with our employees, with the clients on how to really manage this pandemic and how to take care of each other during this crisis. I beg you to please, please, please protect yourself, your employees, your family members, your clients from COVID-19. Take the test. If you need more information on how to take the test, communicate with us. Communicate with any other nonprofit that you're close to that is doing testing and that is helping. We have a lot of information at the Allapattah Collaborative pertaining to COVID testing and making sure that your business, and your constituents are safe. Please take the test. Have your employees take the test. Have your family and their families take the test. And let's make sure that we're all safe. Last but not least, I'd like you to invite you to visit our website, allapattahcdc.org, for more information on resources for your small business. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope that this is a week that you are keeping yourself safe, enjoying with the people that are living with you in your home, and that you just stay safe. I know this is a very unlike Thanksgiving. I know that we're advocating for people to stay put, but guess what? Baby steps, right? We're going to make it through this. Thank you very much and have a great night.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, thank you.